What if I told you that a backyard no bigger than a parking space could produce enough fresh vegetables to feed your entire family week after week, all season long? Most people hear that and think it sounds too good to be true. But here is the thing. Families all across America are already doing this right now. Not on big farms. Not with expensive equipment. Just a small patch of backyard soil, the right vegetables, and a little bit of consistency. And that is exactly what we are getting into today. Because the secret is not how much land you have. The secret is knowing which vegetables give you the most food for the least amount of space. Plant the wrong ones and you will spend all season waiting for a handful of produce. Plant the right ones and your kitchen will be overflowing faster than you can keep up. Today we are counting down the 5 most productive vegetables you can grow in a small American backyard. These are not random picks. Each one was chosen because of how much food it produces, how easy it is to grow, and how much value it brings to your family table. And the vegetable at number 1 is one that most backyard gardeners completely overlook. It is easy to grow, requires almost no attention, and can keep your family fed for months from a single small plot. Stay with me all the way to the end because that one is going to completely change the way you think about your backyard. Before we dive in, if you are new here, welcome. This channel is all about helping everyday families grow their own food and raise their own animals from a small backyard space. No fancy equipment. No acres of land. Just practical, real-world advice that actually works. If that sounds like something you need in your life right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We put out new videos every single week, and every single one is designed to help you get more out of your backyard. Now let me ask you something before we start. Have you ever walked through a grocery store, looked at the prices on fresh vegetables, and felt that quiet frustration building inside you? Tomatoes for $4 a pound. Bell peppers for $3 each. Lettuce that wilts 2 days after you bring it home. The average American family spends over $1,000 a year just on fresh vegetables. And most of that produce was picked days or even weeks before it reached the store shelf. What you are about to discover today is how 5 specific vegetables, grown in your own backyard, can dramatically reduce that number while giving your family fresher, healthier food than anything sitting in a grocery store. Let us count them down. Coming in at number 5, and probably the most beloved backyard vegetable in all of America. Tomatoes. Now before you say you already know about tomatoes, stay with me. Because most people who grow tomatoes are not growing them in a way that gets anywhere close to their full potential. Here is the number that changes everything. A single well-cared-for tomato plant can produce up to 20 pounds of fruit in one growing season. Let that sink in. 20 pounds of fresh tomatoes from one plant. If you grow just 4 plants in a small raised bed or along a sunny fence, you are looking at up to 80 pounds of tomatoes in a single summer. That is pasta sauce, salsa, salads, sandwiches, and snacks for your entire family, and you grew all of it yourself. So why do tomatoes make this list? Because no other vegetable gives you this kind of return for the space it takes up. A tomato plant grows vertically, which means it does not sprawl across your entire yard. You can train it up a simple stake or cage and keep its footprint surprisingly small while it produces fruit non-stop from midsummer all the way through fall. How do you get the most out of your tomato plants? Full sun is non-negotiable. Tomatoes want at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight every single day. They also love deep watering 2 to 3 times a week rather than light watering every day. And here is a tip most beginners miss. Remove the small shoots that grow between the main stem and the branches. Gardeners call these suckers. Removing them sends all the plant's energy directly into producing bigger, heavier fruit instead of extra leaves. Tomatoes are one of the most versatile vegetables in any kitchen. You can eat them fresh, cook them, blend them, preserve them, or freeze them. A few pounds of tomatoes at the end of the season can be turned into jars of homemade sauce that last your family all winter long. Now here is an interesting fact. Americans eat more tomatoes than any other vegetable in the country. And the homegrown variety tastes so dramatically different from store-bought that most people who grow their own say they can never go back. Number 4 is a vegetable so productive that experienced gardeners joke about it. Plant one and suddenly you have more food than you know what to do with. It is the vegetable that will make you the most popular and the most unpopular person in your neighborhood at the same time. Zucchini. Here is the truth about zucchini that nobody tells beginners. This plant is almost aggressively productive. Under good conditions, a single zucchini plant can produce 6 to 10 pounds of vegetables every single week during peak season. Every week. From one plant. Experienced gardeners joke that during zucchini season you have to lock your car doors because your neighbors will sneak bags of zucchini onto your back seat when you are not looking. That joke exists because it has basically happened to everyone who has ever grown this plant. Zucchini is what gardeners call a cut-and-come-again vegetable. The more you harvest it, the more it produces. Every time you pick a zucchini, the plant immediately redirects its energy into growing new ones. If you leave them on the plant too long, they grow into enormous marrows and the plant slows down. Harvest them small and often and the plant rewards you with an almost endless supply. 2 to 3 plants in a small backyard plot will produce more zucchini than most families can eat fresh. Which means you can also give some away, preserve some, and even bake with it. Zucchini bread, zucchini fritters, stuffed zucchini, zucchini pasta. The options are genuinely endless. Zucchini loves warm weather and full sun. It grows well across almost the entire United States from late spring through early fall. It prefers rich, well-drained soil and consistent watering at the base of the plant rather than overhead. One important tip: zucchini plants need pollinators to produce fruit. If your garden has plenty of bees and butterflies visiting, you are in great shape. If not, you can hand-pollinate the flowers yourself using a small paintbrush. It takes 30 seconds and makes a huge difference. Interesting fact: zucchini is technically a fruit, not a vegetable. But we are not going to hold that against it because it is one of the most generous and reliable food producers you can put in a backyard garden. Coming up at number 3 is a vegetable that most families eat every single week, but almost nobody thinks to grow at home. Once you see how easy and productive it is, that is going to change. At number 3 we have one of the most underappreciated high-yield vegetables in the backyard gardening world. Green beans. Also called bush beans or snap beans. Here is what makes green beans special for small spaces. Unlike pole beans that need tall trellises and lots of vertical support, bush beans are compact, tidy, and incredibly productive. They grow about 2 feet tall, stay contained in their space, and produce a generous harvest in as little as 50 to 60 days from planting. That is less than 2 months from seed to your dinner table. And just like zucchini, green beans are a cut-and-come-again crop. The more you pick, the more the plant produces. A small 4-foot by 4-foot bed of green beans can produce 10 to 15 pounds of fresh beans over the course of a season. For a family that eats green beans as a side dish 2 or 3 times a week, that kind of production from one small bed is genuinely significant. Green beans are one of the easiest vegetables a beginner can start with. They prefer full sun, average garden soil, and consistent moisture. They do not need to be fertilized heavily because they actually fix their own nitrogen from the air into the soil, which means they improve your garden bed for whatever you plant there next season. Green beans freeze extremely well. Blanch them quickly in boiling water, cool them down, and freeze them in bags. You will be pulling fresh beans out of your freezer all winter long from a crop you grew in your own backyard. Interesting fact: green beans were one of the most commonly grown vegetables in American home gardens during World War II, when the government encouraged families to grow their own food in what were called victory gardens. The tradition of growing your own food is not new. It is something Americans have always known how to do. We are now in the top 2. Number 2 grows faster than almost any other vegetable on this list. And once you discover how it works, you will never buy it from a grocery store again. At number 2, a vegetable category that is quietly one of the most economical and productive things you can grow in a small backyard. Lettuce and leafy greens. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Lettuce? Really? But hear me out because the numbers here are genuinely impressive. The average bag of pre-washed salad greens at a grocery store costs between $4 and $6 and lasts maybe 4 or 5 days before it starts to wilt. A single packet of lettuce seeds costs about $2 and can plant an entire raised bed that produces fresh salad greens for your family for months. That is the kind of math that makes a real difference in a household budget. Here is what makes lettuce and leafy greens perfect for small spaces. They are what gardeners call a cut and come again crop. You do not pull the whole plant out of the ground to harvest it. You simply cut the outer leaves with a pair of scissors, leave the center of the plant in the ground, and it grows back and gives you another harvest within 7 to 10 days. One small 4-foot bed of mixed lettuce, spinach, arugula, and kale can feed a family of 4 fresh salads multiple times a week for an entire season. Lettuce also grows beautifully in containers, window boxes, and even indoors near a bright window. If you have absolutely no yard space at all, you can still grow enough salad greens on a sunny patio or balcony to make a real difference. Lettuce prefers cooler weather, which makes it perfect for spring and fall growing in most parts of America. It needs at least 4 to 6 hours of sunlight, consistent moisture, and well-drained soil. In hot summer months, grow it in a spot that gets afternoon shade to prevent it from bolting, which means going to seed and turning bitter. Interesting fact, leafy greens like spinach and kale are among the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. Growing them yourself means you are harvesting them at peak nutrition, unlike store-bought greens that have been sitting in cold storage for days and losing nutritional value the whole time. And now we have arrived at number 1. The most underrated high-yield vegetable on this entire list. Most backyard gardeners never even think to grow it. But once you hear what it can do for your family, that is going to change immediately. Taking the top spot on today's list is a vegetable that most Americans love to eat, but almost nobody thinks to grow in their backyard. Sweet potatoes. And once you hear what this plant can do, you are going to wonder why you waited this long. Here is the number that makes sweet potatoes the most impressive vegetable on this list. A single 10-foot row of sweet potatoes, which takes up less space than a sofa, can produce between 50 and 100 pounds of food in a single growing season. One row. 50 to 100 pounds of nutritious, filling, versatile food that your family can eat for months. No other vegetable on this list, and honestly very few vegetables anywhere, can match that kind of production from that little space. But here is the part that really sets sweet potatoes apart. Unlike most vegetables that need to be eaten fresh or preserved quickly, sweet potatoes store naturally for months without refrigeration. Cure them properly after harvest, store them in a cool, dark place, and they will stay fresh and delicious from fall all the way through winter and into early spring. That means one growing season of sweet potatoes can keep your family fed with a healthy, filling staple food for 6 to 8 months out of the year. Sweet potatoes grow from slips, which are small sprouts that grow from an existing sweet potato. You can buy slips from a garden center or grow your own by placing a sweet potato halfway in a glass of water and waiting for it to sprout. Once your slips are ready, plant them in a sunny spot with loose, well-drained soil after the last frost of the season. Sweet potatoes need full sun, warm temperatures, and room to spread their vines along the ground. They are drought-tolerant once established and generally resistant to most pests and diseases. In other words, they are one of the most low-maintenance crops you can grow. They thrive across most of the southern and central United States and do well anywhere with a warm growing season of at least 90 to 100 days. Sweet potatoes are one of the most nutritious foods you can eat. They are packed with vitamins, fiber, and natural energy. You can bake them, mash them, roast them, turn them into soups, pies, and casseroles, and even use the leaves in salads. Almost every part of the plant is edible. Interesting fact, sweet potatoes have been grown and eaten in the Americas for over 5,000 years. They were a staple food for indigenous communities long before European settlers arrived. There is a reason this vegetable has survived and been valued for that long. It feeds people reliably, affordably, and generously. If you only grow one thing from this list, let it be sweet potatoes. And there you have it. The 5 most productive vegetables you can grow in a small American backyard to feed your whole family. Quick recap. Number 5, tomatoes, up to 20 pounds of fruit per plant with the right care. Number 4, zucchini, so productive that experienced gardeners joke about having too much of it. Number 3, green beans, compact, fast-growing, and continuously productive all season long. Number 2, lettuce, and leafy greens, cut and come again harvests that replace expensive grocery store salads for months. And number 1, sweet potatoes, the most underrated backyard vegetable in America, capable of producing up to 100 pounds of food from a single small plot and feeding your family for months after harvest. Here is the most important thing to take away from today. You do not need a lot of land. You do not need expensive tools or a big budget. You just need the right vegetables, a little sunshine, and the willingness to get started. Your backyard, no matter how small, has more potential than you realize. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 vegetables are you going to plant first? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one and I love hearing what you are growing. If this video gave you value today, please hit the like button right now. It helps more families like yours find this channel and start growing their own food. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss what we put out next. Every video on this channel is designed to help you grow more food, save more money, and build a more self-sufficient life from your own backyard. Because here is the truth. The grocery store does not have to be your only option. Your backyard is waiting. All it needs is you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.